This is crazy. Winter, oh winter, the seasonal splinter. It pokes at my toes and prickles my fingers. It knocks on my door and howls with a roar, begging to enter and spill all over the floor. This frigid friend wants time to spend, even though I want this time to end. Look, it's not you, it's me. I have other seasons to see. The birds will sing with my dear friend spring. So I hem and haw and lose rest, but you haven't left, and to be frank, I feel depressed. So since you won't go, yes, you and your snow, I'll stay, I'll wait, and I'll patiently grow. My mind and body, your presence will mend. For now, Mr. Winter, you are my seasonal friend.
Well, today we build a bigger hole.
The strategy is to keep things interesting. We are now creating a new ice hole and a new spot, because that's what you do when you do the same thing over and over again. You either go crazy or just do it in different places.
Perfect.
Good hole. One,
That's super scary. That big, huge chunk of ice just disappeared inside. Yep, come on.
always F's the hands up.
Soak me, buddy.
Okay, you ready?
Try and get him as soaked as possible.
Yeah, okay, ready? Everyone's good? 3,
You got this.
2, 1. Let's do that again. This is ridiculous. It's like a total snow squall out here. I don't think I've ever been in a snowstorm this much. The top is like a mush. It's not even ice. The strategy isn't maybe necessarily cold dipping in snowstorms, or maybe it is, but I've definitely found this really interesting peacefulness by going through and doing this experience, by doing cold plunging. For the last 90 days, I've done this. I did a whole documentary on it, which you guys can check out in the description below, but I've also just picked up doing this as a process of mental agility, building up my resilience, my discipline, and more importantly, just breaking up the winter. The winter is like one of my least favorite seasons. Not only has doing this really changed my experience with winter, but it's also changed a ton of other people's. We started this group called Unbounded, which is this like cold dipping community of people here in Ontario who have started doing it as well. It also bleeds into British Columbia, parts of the States. And I think with any sort of season, whether it's good or bad, hot or cold, the best way to sort of get through it, any sort of season within life, isn't to just wait for it to be over. Because if you live somewhere, you're kind of stuck there. The more you wait, oh, this is crazy. I think to survive any sort of climate, whether good or bad, it's to find joy in whatever discomforts you have within it. Because if you're stuck in it, like I'm Canadian, that's it. I can't not have winter. I can try and travel and move around the world, but with pandemics and situations like COVID, it's kind of difficult to sort of maneuver around things out of your control. So rather than trying to run away from problems, coming up with creative solutions to sort of embrace those problems is kind of your best bet. So what I found was doing these cold dips, this cold exposure, dipping into the ice holes. Woo! that is the hole. That's what we chopped open. It is now weeks later after we did that. Up until this point, I have done 100 dips. This is like the celebratory, I guess, victory video. I don't know what it is, but I want to relate it to a saying that I think a lot of us have heard. I feel like every single person has heard, which is like the motivational stamp of approval when it comes to like someone trying to give you some cool advice, and that is to do one thing every day that scares you, which is very overwhelming. Like, I actually thought about it. To do one thing every day that scares you, like, what, you're just gonna like walk around and like, I don't know, get chased by snakes all the time? I had a hard time grasping with that, but then by doing these sort of cold exposures, this was something that I was afraid of, and it never changed. My fear of it never altered or shifted. Now, I'm not recommending you do a cold dip every single day if that's not down your alley, but I would say rephrasing the term do one thing every day that scares you to do one thing every day that's either painful or a problem. And what I mean by a problem is there's this beautiful thing, which again, I've created another video about problems, which I'll pop up in one of those corners, but there's a beautiful thing about solving problems that aren't like within your day-to-day things. It's not like solving a problem at work or solving a problem with your passion. It's like solving a unique problem that's somewhat painful. So for me, it was doing these cold dips. I had the problem, which was my fear. I was so afraid of doing this thing. And the beautiful thing was whenever I faced the fear and kind of got out of it and made it alive, I immediately realized that I'm not gonna die from this, and I solved a problem. I solved one of my life problems, which was a consistent fear. Growing up, I was sort of very removed from a lot of things. I had like crazy long list of food allergies that really shaped and altered my childhood into being sort of like a bubble boy. And because of that, I sort of had this like deep urge to try and like do as many things as possible to prove all of those people wrong who sort of told me I couldn't do those types of things. And eventually it just sort of like made me, I guess, end up in the ice hole during a snowstorm with my beard looking ridiculous. It's so crazy. But that was because I guess I was doing one thing every day that was motivated by something that scared me. So I was doing something that was scary, but I was also running away from something that created some sort of fear or some sort of problem, and therefore developed this interesting solution of being a polar plunger. And so the method that I did, if you guys are interested in cold exposure or just some sort of physical endurance process, the process that I did was doing cold exposure by Wim Hof. If you guys haven't heard of him, he's like this crazy mountain man who has broken a long list of records from exposing his body into like ice cold water for like, is it like 20 hours? No, like an hour? Maybe some sort of ridiculous record, as well as running a marathon in the desert without any water. He's also broken many records of like climbing Everest in his shorts. What he pins his victories on is cold exposure. Me doing that every day now for 100 days in a row has really shown me that, yeah, there are a lot of benefits from that. And while I don't know if I could probably ever run a marathon in the desert, nor would I really want to, knowing that my body is capable of doing something as ridiculous as that has been such a huge milestone. And doing things like cold baths and jumping into the water, I've also been doing like cold showers and any sort of like just more cold exposure stuff. Walking around in my shorts and t-shirt, doing cold exposure after long runs has really mentally or physically helped my body. Big thing is, which is the quote that I had earlier, which is pain is necessary, suffering is optional. I think a lot of us live within a format of suffering, and we've built that up because we don't want to have pain. We try to avoid pain as much as possible because it's scary, it's uncomfortable, and so we put ourselves in a box of comfort, which then creates us to suffer, which suffering is way worse than pain. Yeah, just go do something that's like crazy and uncomfortable. I promise you, you're gonna get a lot of big benefits out of it. Anyways, thanks for listening to me ramble on. Doing this process has been so transformative for me, and hopefully you guys can take, and hopefully this sort of helped you maybe step out of your comfort zone, because it's totally worth it. If you guys are interested in watching my video about cold exposure or doing ridiculous polar dips and stuff, you guys can take a look at it in the description below, or I'll have a little hyperlink that pops up in one of these corners. I still don't know how to YouTube, so bear with me. But that's it. I absolutely love you guys. Final words and remarks. If you did like this video and do want to continue watching the stuff that I make, if you hit the bell button and subscribe, that really means a lot. And like this video, because the thumbs up I think do something, but more importantly, I want to hear what is freaking you out and what's a fear of yours that you want to overcome this year in 2021. Write that in the comment section below. But that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. I love you and have an awesome day. Enjoy this ice hole for a bit.